I also wanted to say that I spent the morning with my ministerial colleagues Stephen Jones and Jenny McAllister at Suncorp, being briefed on preparations for natural disaster season and inspecting some of the new technology that Suncorp has when it comes to monitoring, particularly when it comes to storm season. And I wanted to indicate that one of the reasons why we are seeing a little bit of slippage in the mid-year budget update, which we will release in the next couple of weeks, is because of extra money in the budget for disasters. So there'll be an estimates variation in the budget of almost $2 billion for natural disasters, which is unavoidable spending. It's actually one of a number of estimates variations, which is seeing a little bit of slippage in the bottom line compared to budget. People will see that in the mid-year budget update. But almost $2 billion in extra funding for natural disasters, unavoidable spending, but important spending, important investments when it comes to dealing with the economic and fiscal impacts of storm season and natural disasters more broadly. As a Queenslander, I know how important it is that we are prepared for summer storm season. I'll also be spending the bulk of this week in regional Queensland with three terrific senators, Senator Chisholm, Senator Green and Senator McAllister. Together, we'll be covering almost 6,000 kilometres and 6 towns in 3 days. From Brisbane to Hervey Bay to Rocky to Longreach to Cloncurry to Cairns and back again. This is a really important opportunity for us to engage with local communities and local industries and economies, talking about infrastructure, health, training, agriculture and emergency management. We know if we want our economy to grow in sustainable ways again, that we need our regions to be a big part of the story. And as a Queenslander, I'm looking forward to covering almost 6,000 kilometres with my frontbench colleagues from the Senate, getting out and about in regional Queensland communities, speaking to local communities about local industries, local infrastructure and local services at the same time. Now, there's a lot of uncertainty in the economy coming at us from around the world, but also around the country. And I wanted to say a couple of things about recent commentary from China, from the administration there when it comes to supporting activity in the economy. China has been a big concern to us when it comes to the slowdown and the weakness in the Chinese economy. We welcome the recent statements by the authorities in recent days, indeed in recent months. Any proactive steps to support growth in the Chinese economy are welcome, but we are conscious that there are still serious and structural issues in the Chinese economy. With all of this going on around the world, weakness in the Chinese economy, some policy uncertainty in the US, conflicts in the Middle East and Eastern Europe, political turbulence in places like Korea and France. There's a lot of global economic uncertainty. There's a lot of pressure on people here at home. There is always a premium on responsible economic management, but especially right now. Happy to take some questions.
Do you think it's right for Sally Hannis to make such points of attacks at the RBA, Governor, and have you spoken to her about those comments?
I haven't spoken to her about it, and Sally's comments are a matter for Sally. You know, I speak for myself, and when it comes to economic policy, I speak for the government. We have a very respectful relationship with Governor Bullock. We don't preempt or predict decisions taken independently by the Reserve Bank and its board. We've made it very clear, and I've made it clear once again today, that I'm focused on my job. My job is being helpful in the fight against inflation without ignoring the substantial risks to growth. We are making very substantial progress in the fight against inflation, and that's reflected in the Reserve Bank statement today.
The RBA board has jettisoned its previous guidance that it was not ruling anything out on interest rates, in a further indication that it's more confident about the current path. Do you welcome that?
Well, the statement makes it clear that the board is gaining some confidence that inflationary pressures are declining. But one of the very welcome developments in recent months is that Governor Bullock will have her own opportunity to speak to that statement quite shortly. and I'd encourage people to engage with her to make the most of that opportunity. I speak for the government when it comes to economic policy. Our focus is the fight against inflation. We're making welcome and encouraging progress in the fight against inflation, and that's reflected in the Reserve Bank statement.
Are you still of the opinion that the RBA not moving on rates is smashing the economy?
Well, I think it's very clear, and it has been clear for some time, that a number of things are weighing heavily on growth in our economy. Global economic uncertainty, cost of living pressures, and the impact of interest rates. I think that's self-evident. We've seen that for most of the year when it comes to particularly slowing growth in our economy. Not that long ago, we got the national accounts for the September quarter. Growth was weaker than economists had been expecting because of the combination of those factors. And so our focus and our job, my job as Treasurer, is to focus primarily on the fight against inflation, to do that in a way that doesn't ignore the very substantial risks to growth. We are making progress on that front, but we know that people are still under very substantial pressure, and that's why rolling out our cost of living help is so important.
The RBA's comments on wages and GDP growth indicative that the RBA's overdone it and should have moved to cut rates earlier.
Oh, I'm not going to engage in that kind of commentary. I don't preempt or predict decisions taken independently by the Reserve Bank, and I don't second-guess decisions that they have taken already. The Governor of the Reserve Bank and her board has a job to do. I have a job to do, and I'm focused on my job.
You spoke earlier about meeting with your shadow counterpart about the board announcements. Mm-hmm. When will you be announcing those appointments, and will you be including workers' representatives as salary finance is called for?
What people will see when we make the announcement, subject to the consultation that we still need to do, including with the Shadow Treasurer, is the appointments that we're seeking to make to the Reserve Bank Board are first-class and first-rate people. We will consult in the coming days with an eye to, ideally, announcing the makeup of the two new boards before Christmas, but subject to that consultation. I take that consultation very seriously. We have already, around the middle of the year, had conversations with the opposition about the possible makeup of the two boards. There's a process which has been adhered to, which recommends a shortlist to the government. We intend to pick from that shortlist, and we intend to consult in a genuine way, even with our political opponents, even though they haven't supported this legislation through the Senate.
So you haven't ruled out workers' representatives?
Well, I don't want to preempt the consultation that's happening, but I've made it very clear, privately and publicly, that that's not my intention. That we will pick from the shortlist that has been provided to us. The Governor of the Reserve Bank's had input into that, Secretary of the Treasury, and also a third party. This is the process laid out by the RBA review. We've adhered to that. We've taken it very seriously. It has been a very genuine effort to get the best possible combination of people on these two boards. And when we make the announcement, you will see, subject to that consultation, that the people we are considering for the two boards are first-rate and first-class, the sorts of people that should be broadly supported, not just in politics but in the community more broadly.
Earlier you spoke about slippages when it came to natural disaster funding. Is there any other slippages you foresee?
I do. One of the defining features of the mid-year budget update will be a whole range of what is in the jargon estimates variations. And what estimates variations are is unavoidable spending where the parameters might change or our forecasts might change, and that has implications for spending. And so almost $2 billion in extra spending for natural disasters will be one of the big drivers of a little bit of slippage in the budget. I've indicated previously that there is also substantially more money for veterans, and there are some other estimates variations as well. So one of the real pressures on the budget is the combination of those estimates variations, including natural disasters.
I just want to return back to the comments about Salome. You did say that they were her comments and that she can speak for herself.
Yeah.
It's one of the ACTU is still a member of Labor, of the Labor movement. Do you concede that they may place pressure on the central bank to cut rates?
No, I think the Reserve Bank takes its decisions independently. There will always be a view in the broader Australian community about the future trajectory of rates. People are entitled to express a view on all sides of the argument. It's not just Sally McManus who has a view about that. Other people have expressed a view about that. You know, some people in the economics profession, for example, were calling for 3 rate hikes this year and there have been none. So people are entitled to express a view about that. My focus is on my job, not the Governor's job. And I've made it very clear that I have a very respectful view of the independence of the Reserve Bank and its Governor. They will take their decisions independently. They can do that without a kind of a running political commentary from people in positions like mine.
What do you have to say to mums and dads who had been waiting for this meeting, you know, hopefully have more money to spend on Christmas dinner? What do you have to say to those people?
Well, a couple of things about that. I mean, we understand that people are under substantial pressure and interest rates are part of the story. And that's why we've put so much effort into fighting inflation. The 2 surpluses are helping in the fight against inflation, as the Governor has said. The cost of living relief, whether it be the tax cuts, the energy bill rebates, getting wages moving again, cheaper early childhood education, cheaper medicines, rent assistance, all of this is about not just recognising the pressures that people are under, but responding to them in the most responsible way that we can. And that's really the difference between us and our political opponents. You know, the Australian government and the Australian community is focused on the cost of living. Peter Dutton's focused on what flags he has behind him in a press conference. And so our priorities are in line with the pressures that people feel. That's why our cost of living relief and rolling that out in the most responsible way we can is our highest priority. We're making progress in the fight against inflation, but we know that doesn't always translate to how people are feeling and faring, and that's why our cost of living help is so important.
Changing tack now, do you think Israel's actions in Gaza are comparable to Russia and China?
Look, I'm here to talk about interest rates and a range of other issues. You know, I don't want to engage in some of that commentary that we have seen. Our position when it comes to the conflict in the Middle East is clear.
Do you think the Prime Minister waited too long to condemn the synagogue attack in Melbourne?
No, the Prime Minister condemned in the strongest possible terms that disgraceful, despicable, unforgivable attack on the synagogue in Melbourne. You know, and we are thinking of everyone in Melbourne's Jewish community, indeed the Jewish community, the broader Australian community, when it comes to this act of terrorism. I think the Prime Minister was very clear on multiple occasions, including today, when he said that this was an act of terrorism. It was fuelled by anti-Semitism and it was stoked by hatred, which has absolutely no place in Australian society. The Prime Minister has been very strong on that, and again today, including in the last couple of hours.